Coming up on a loaded 49ers report, should the 49ers sign free agent wide receiver DeSean Jackson? If Odell Beckham Jr. gets cut, should the 49ers be in on him? And we'll take a look at the top NFL free agents. Welcome into the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. I hope all of you in the Niner gang are having a fantastic week. We start off today's show with looking into a possible signing of DeSean Jackson. Should San Francisco do it? Reasons why they shouldn't. Let's dive into it. So Jackson was waived by the Los Angeles Rams on Tuesday after the two parties couldn't find a trade partner on NFL trade deadline day. Now, his $2.75 million salary is guaranteed, so if he does clear waivers, the Rams will be on the hook for most of his salary from here on out until the end of the regular season. Yes, he is 34 years old, but DeSean Jackson still has value because he is still an elite vertical threat down the field and a big field stretcher, because going back to when he came into the league out of Cal, he has been one of the most explosive wide receivers that the NFL has ever seen. You take a gander at what he's done in 7 games with the Los Angeles Rams here in 2021. Of course, the production is down. Only 8 catches, 221 yards, but kind of what I've been talking about here is the big play threat that D-Jack is. Yards per catch, 27.6. So while he is a little bit older, longer in the tooth, and at the tail end of his NFL career, he can still be an explosive playmaker. A 75-yard touchdown pass that went for 75 yards in Week 3 goes to show you that this guy can really still run. His career stats, DeSean Jackson, in my opinion, is a borderline Hall of Famer because of his ability to produce massive game-changing splash plays. And the numbers really are ridiculous since he got drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles out of Cal, spent really successful time there, went to the Washington football team, was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, went back to the Philadelphia Eagles, then signed that aforementioned 1-year deal with the Los Angeles Rams. Throughout his illustrious and historic NFL career, which we'll get to here in just a bit, 620 receptions, almost 11,000 yards, and for him to have a 17.5 yards per catch mark just goes to show you that this guy has been a game changer. And 57 touchdowns, a lot of them coming in massive situations, and a lot of them coming for 50, 60, 70, 80 plus yards. We'll break that down here in just a bit. But first, let me ask you this, Niner gang, because I threw this out on my Twitter page yesterday. Give me a follow at Chase_Senior. I would personally take a chance on DeSean Jackson. I'll get to his value here in just a moment as I expand on my thoughts, but would you take a chance on D-Jack? Type Y for yes, type N for no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video, so if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, scroll on down and get your votes in. I would take a look at DeSean Jackson because I'm at least trying to explore it. Why is that? Because I think the vertical threat that DeSean Jackson opposes to opposing defenses would open up the short and intermediate area for guys like Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle. I like the receiving core that Kyle Shanahan has at his disposal right now, but when you take a look at Kittle, as well as Deebo and Brandon Ayuk, I wouldn't consider them field stretchers from a vertical standpoint. They are great with the ball in their hands, getting yards after the catch. But what signing DeSean Jackson would do, it would stretch the field vertically, opening up a lot of opportunities for those guys to make some plays with the balls in their hands in the short and intermediate yardage situations and just allow them to do a lot of damage. Because when DeSean Jackson is on the field, defensive coordinators are always honing in on him, even though he is 34 years old, because he still has that game-breaking speed, and they always have to factor in a safety being over the top. I talk about DeSean Jackson having a historic NFL career. A big reason why I think that he's a borderline Hall of Famer, you take a look at what he's done and the damage that he's done throughout his long and successful NFL career. Most touchdowns of 60-plus yards in NFL history, he has the most. This is a combination of receptions as well as punt returns. 26, overtaking Jerry Rice's record a couple years ago. Devin Hester in third place with 21 touchdowns of 60-plus yards. As for the most touchdowns of 80-plus yards, look who's tied in first place. It's D-Jack tied alongside Jerry Rice, Lance Allworth, Bob Hayes, and Derek Alexander. This guy is a game breaker. This guy is a game changer. And again, even at 34 years old, I think he brings value to this 49ers offense. Now, some people were commenting on my tweet yesterday saying, well, who's going to throw him the football because Jimmy Garoppolo ain't it? If you have Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle all streaking free, either toward the sideline, on crossers, jet sweeps, bubble screens, or for George Kittle going right down the seam, those guys are going to be open. So all Jimmy G has to do is play pitch and catch, and then once in a while, he can take the top off of the defense by targeting DeSean Jackson. So I think D-Jack is a potential Hall of Famer. What do you think, though? Is he a Hall of Famer? Type H for Hall, type NH for nah, hell nah, he ain't. Be sure to get those votes in the comment section right now. The 49ers Report is presented to you by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. You want a free San Francisco 49ers jersey? Well, here's how you can get one, and here's how we'll send you one. You go to chatsports.com/49bet, enter the promo code Niners125. You sign up. You deposit $100 into your account, and by using that link in that promo code, you get an additional $125 back. That's $225 total. You lay down a bet, and then you email us, jersey@chatsports.com, letting us know that you followed all of those steps. Here are the jerseys that are available in all colors and sizes right now that we can send to you as soon as possible. This is a deal that we've been offering all throughout the season. We've sent hundreds of jerseys out. More are on the way. Nick Bosa, Trey Lance, George Kittle, all available right now. If you just follow these steps, you'll get a free jersey in your closet so you can rock the scarlet, red, gold, and white. Chatsports.com/49bet. Enter the promo code Niners125. We move from one really good wide receiver in DeSean Jackson, or at least in the past he's been a really good wide receiver because the production has dipped over the last couple of years because he's been off injured, to another really good wide receiver who's also dealt with a lot of injuries over the last couple of years. And this is a guy who we've talked about here on the channel quite a bit. It's Odell Beckham Jr. So let's get to the latest on him and then explore as to whether or not the 49ers should sign him as well if he does get cut, because as of this recording, early on a Thursday, he has not been let go by the Cleveland Browns. Mike Garafolo tweeting this early on Thursday. Browns wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. will be excused from practice again today, source says. We'll see where this goes, but talks do continue between the organization, OBJ, and his agent. He was also excused from practice yesterday, and according to some reports, head coach Kevin Stefanski saying to the team, OBJ basically not a part of this unit. Josina Anderson tweeting this out just moments ago. A number of teams are sniffing around Odell Beckham Jr.'s status with the Cleveland Browns per multiple sources. At the same time, it's my understanding that Beckham Jr. is waiting and willing to return to the facility and rejoin the team upon notification per league source. So Josina Anderson has always had ties to OBJ. This is probably coming right from OBJ or his agent, so you might want to take that with a grain of salt. But when I read this situation, I think we're trending toward OBJ getting cut by the Cleveland Browns for multiple reasons. His pops just posted like a 10 or 11 minute video on Instagram putting together a mashup of highlights of Baker Mayfield not targeting him when he's been open. According to some reports, OBJ is not even on speaking terms with Kevin Stefanski right now, and that relationship with Baker ain't good. He's not talking with Kevin Stefanski, and over the last couple of years since getting traded to Cleveland from the New York Giants, I think it's safe to say that OBJ's tenure in Cleveland has been somewhat of a disaster for a multitude of reasons. He got off to a terrific start with the New York Giants to historic proportions, but he's dealt with a bunch of injuries. His production has severely gone down, and this year, his numbers are dreadful. 17 receptions, 34 targets, yards per game of 38.7, and 0 touchdowns. Now, when he got drafted out of LSU, his numbers from 2014 to 2016 were flat out ridiculous, like historic. Really, no other wide receiver over the course of NFL history had gotten off to a better start than OBJ from 2014 to 2016. These are his per-season averages. 96 catches per year, crazy, almost 1,400 yards, average yards per pop, a little less than 16, and he was reeling in almost 12 touchdowns per season. Here's the problem, though. OBJ hasn't been that player for a long time. His numbers have dipped. He's really expensive, and he's also become injury prone. And you have to factor in that when you bring in OBJ, you have to deal with a lot of extra baggage and drama. And does San Francisco want to do that? I talk about him being expensive. He is expensive. And if he were to get waived, the team that brought him in would be on the hook for his remaining salary of about $8 million. This year in total had a base salary of $14.5 million. In 2022, it goes down a little bit to 13.75. 2023, 13.75. And the dead cap hit is astronomical, so a lot of this money is going to be guaranteed. And by the time he becomes a free agent in 2024, he's going to be 32 years old. So the plus is that he would be under team control. The negatives to it, a lot of drama, a lot of baggage. He might be washed, and the production has gone down, and it's been trending in a downward trajectory for quite some time. I've done a lot of thought about OBJ coming to San Francisco, and a lot of people are saying this guy is washed. And I'm like, is he washed, or just kind of washed? Or has he just been in a really bad situation in Cleveland where a lot of times, over time, people's careers have gone to die? I think OBJ has some explosiveness left. I thought his pops had a point in putting together those clips of him being open and Baker Mayfield not hitting him, because a lot of other guys were also open and Baker Mayfield failed to make those completions. But here's the deal with OBJ, right? It's all the reasons that I'm talking about. He's expensive, his production has gone downhill, and does he kind of take away from the culture that you have in the building? There's a lot of baggage with OBJ. I still think he can be a pretty solid player. I'm just not sure I'm willing to pay him given that baggage, the production going down, and the injury issues that have surfaced over the last couple of years, not just this year as he's coming off that torn ACL last year. What to do with OBJ? What say you, faithful? Type S for sign in the comment section right now. Type W for washed. Where do you think OBJ is right now? Make sure you give me a follow on Twitter at Chase_Senior. Shout out to John Chapman, who has his own 49ers YouTube channel. He does a great job looking at the all-22 and breaking down film. He had sent out a tweet the other day saying, follow Chase_Senior on Twitter. Great guy to follow for 49ers coverage. I had like 100 people follow me. Greatly appreciate all of you who are new to the 49ers Report. And if you haven't followed me, I'm always tweeting out the latest 49ers news, 49ers rumors, as well as me doing my own tape research. Let's quickly run through the top remaining free agents following the NFL trade deadline. I know the Niners have some needs along the offensive line, and let's take all of this too with a grain of salt, because there are reasons, and many reasons, why these guys are still available on the open market. Top available offensive linemen, I still think Mitchell Schwartz and David DeCastro could play, and they'd fill positions of need along that 49ers offensive line if an injury were to happen. Russell Okun still out there, so too is Rick Wagner and Joe Dahl. Top available running backs. I think the Niners are pretty set here, but we're just informing you on the 49ers Report. That's just what we do. Kerryon Johnson, Todd Gurley, and Bo Scarborough. Kerryon Johnson was a part of the 49ers practice squad back a few weeks ago. Top available wide receivers. If you don't want to target a DeSean Jackson, do you go after another deep threat who can take the top off of the defense in John Brown? Golden Tate, I think, is washed. Trey Burton, kind of a hybrid wide receiver tight end. Tyler Eifert, also a tight end, and then Alshon Jeffrey, who is definitely just done with his career. He's cooked. He can't run anymore. Top available defensive linemen, Olivier Vernon, Kawan Short, Geno Atkins, P.J. Hall, and Vic Beasley. We've talked a little bit about these guys in the past. Top available linebackers. Do you want to go after a guy like Jaylon Smith, who it's a medical miracle he survived that injury at Notre Dame to even be a quality player and secure the bag with the Dallas Cowboys, but he's been bad for the last couple of years. Was a surprise inactive with the Packers 2 Thursday Night Footballs ago and just got let go. Todd Davis, Michael Kendricks, who we know about, also available on the free agent market. Top available DBs. This is probably the biggest area of interest for San Francisco because they're somewhat thin in the secondary at the safety spot with the current injuries right now to Jaquiski Tart as well as Jimmy Ward, but also at corner, it's Quentin Dunbar, Trey Boston, Garyon Conley, Kenny Vaccaro, as well as DJ Hayden. So those right now are your top available NFL free agents following the NFL trade deadline. With that, I ask you this before we get out of here. Which free agent of those group of guys do you like the most? Drop me some names right now in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel. Niner Gang, I love you. Thanks for watching today's show.